Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I'm make a video for my youth. Another episode of Mike Motivation. Now that I got this retainer out of my mouth, I can actually talk. But this is the kind of stuff I want to do. I want to go around, give out this information for kids who want to hear it, youth who want to hear it, people like my age, 39, who want to hear it. Inflation's here. Everything's gone up. I posted a picture not too long ago. I just probably bought 5 or 6 items and it cost like $40. Tissue, toothpaste, toothbrush, and some soap. We just ran out, just had to go get it. A quick little run to the store. I was like, wow, $40. So, my agenda today is to talk about, a lot of youth, they want to live on their own. I went through this, understanding what does it cost to live on your own. Freedom is not free. Freedom comes with a cost. So, you look into moving out, house or apartment. Which one you want to do? House or apartment? I want a house. I want an apartment. And the recurring costs. So I got a couple of things pulled up. So let's look at a house, right? Random house in Southwest, 9500 Suzanne Drive, Little Rock, Arkansas 72209, right? 179,000. And this is probably the average house. With inflation now, maybe 10 years ago, this house probably was not could sell for this much, but with inflation, anything goes, like the Wild Wild West now with selling houses. So 179,000, 4 bedroom, 2 baths, 1,700 square feet. The estimate payment. Let me zoom in a little bit. Estimate payment is $1,062. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, let me zoom back out real quick. I think that may be with escrow and everything. Hold on. So, mortgage, it says mortgage. Move it over a little bit so you can see it. It's behind my head. Let's see, mortgage. Principal interest 879. Property taxes. Can I move? Property taxes. Property taxes is about $120 a month. And that's really an estimate. It's not really, it may not even be the right number. But $1,000 a month, right? For a mortgage, right? That's not including utilities. That's not including your cell phone bill. That's not including if you want a new car. This is just for the house payment. Don't cover utilities, none of that. Lights, water, gas, don't cover none of that. This don't cover furnishing the house. What if you want furniture? What if you wanted to get, decorative items? All that costs money. Let's look at some apartments. Now this is $1,000, and I found another house. Let's see. The reason why I did that house is because most houses that's under that, most people probably not gonna want to even look into. So let's look into some of these houses. Let's say this house in the 65th Street area, $50K. Oh, they probably don't even show how much it is. No, that's just land. I'm sorry. That's not even a house. That's just land. So, $55,000. Would you want to move into this house? And they cut the price $7K, like that's gonna make somebody want to buy. Oh, this is a good deal. I'm gonna buy this house for $55,000. But this is the kind of stuff that you get for under $100,000. A lot of that stuff ain't where you wanna, unless you handy or you can, know somebody to remodel houses, and then you still might not even be able to move into this house right off the bat. You got to do a lot of work to it. But even with that being said, it says like estimated payment $329 a month, but you can't live in it. You got to do some work to it, and you probably would spend so much money trying to get it renovated, and on a regular salary, that's probably not even feasible. So most people buy this house, they probably turn it into a rental property or something. But what I want to show you is $329 a month. That's what it's estimated at. And that's probably a little low. You're probably looking at more about $400 or $500 a month, probably when it's all said and done, especially if you don't have the credit and stuff like that. And then when you get it, then you have to get it renovated. Now you have to find somebody to renovate it, and that costs money. So let's look at apartments. Look at that. Ridge on Chenal, $1,289. I don't know how to butcher it. I don't want to butcher that. The Versailles, $1,100. The Links at Eagle Hill, $725. And that's probably a really small apartment. It's not no big apartment. That's probably just enough for you to live, but $725, and you making minimum wage or just over minimum wage, it still eat up so much of your check. This is pretty expensive, man. There used to be a time that house mortgages used to be $725. Landmark Apartments, $1,178. Forest Place, $880. Chenal Point, $919. These apartments are high too, and they want you to pay. They want their stuff on time too. But guess what? If your check can't cover that in one sitting, how do you pay that? Now you got to start thinking. Now you got to start putting money, half of this check, half of that check. That's why they call it living check to check, because now you have to go from check to check, dissect their money, and make it fit so you can be able to pay the rent. That's why I say freedom is not as free as you think it is. So, mortgage, escrow, general maintenance, some break on the house, hot water heater, something with plumbing or something like that. Most of the time, you get that fixed because the insurance will go up and that'll make your mortgage go up. So most people have insurance just so for the mortgage requirement. But if something breaks, usually you fix it on your own, because if you file a claim on your insurance, now they raise the mortgage premium. The premium on your insurance, and now that'll make your mortgage go up. You can go from paying $1,200 a month, your mortgage go up another $200. That's $1,400. It don't sound like a lot, but let me tell you something. Be paying $1,200, you're like, oh, okay, I'm cool now. Then it go up to $1,400. That $200 make a total difference on everything. Throw everything off. Next one is apartments, right? Apartments. Rent, parking, privacy. The rent, we talked about that. Some of that rent is about as much as the mortgage is. Parking, you don't have the privacy that you would be if you lived in a house, because you're parking outside around everybody. So you tend to have a lot more things happen. Somebody bump your car, or you gotta worry about somebody breaking your car or something like that, because you live on the back side of the apartments and you gotta park in the front side. It's a lot of overhead to think about living in an apartment. Privacy, do you live by, noisy neighbors, or do you live by a neighbor with a bunch of kids? Do you live on the bottom floor? Do you live on the top floor? If you live on the bottom floor, they got kids that's always running around. You hear that on the top, You live in a complex with younger people. They may have parties, or they may, have their music up or something like that. Or older people, they clean up on the weekend. They ain't there listening to Frankie Beverly and Mays, you know what I'm saying? Before I let go, you know what I'm saying? And the blues on Saturday when they cleaning up. Can you handle that? You trying to sleep in late, but they listening to Johnny Taylor, you know what I'm saying? Last $2. So something to think about, house or apartment, but can you afford either one? Basic necessities, like I talked about in the picture, let's go to Walmart. You talked about in the picture, right? Looking at tiles, right? Look at that. These towels are probably low-end towels, and they still like $20 for an 8-piece set. But guess what? If you had a family, that's not gonna be enough for a family, because you can use 4 of those or 2 of those just when you take a shower now. So just think if you had to get 2 sets or 3 sets, that's $60, almost $70 right there. Just off. You know what? Let's just make a cart real quick. Let's get these towels. And how many we gonna do? Let's do add to cart. View cart. Let's do 3 sets. That's $74 for 3 sets, right? Now, let's go to soap. Let's say you're trying to be just at the low end. You just want to do dial, right? Let's do that. Add that to cart. Boom. Now you at $79, I think. $79. Toothpaste. Let's do mid-grade. You don't want to do the cheapest toothpaste. You kind of get what you pay for it at that level. So let's try. Let's do this. Crest White, right? Look at that. Let's go back to the cart. That's $86 for 3 sets of towels, toothpaste, and soap. That's $80. You ain't got the groceries yet. This is just something to keep yourself clean with. Towel, toothpaste, and soap. Towel, toothpaste, and soap. That's $80. Think about that for a second. You know, that'll eat up so much right there. $80 just for that. That's a lot, y'all. Maintenance of vehicle. Oil change. What's how much the oil change costs? Do they have oil change at Walmart? I think they still do oil change at Walmart. Let's see. Now this says 25, but I'm pretty sure it could be a little more than that when you're talking about labor and stuff. But maybe they have a different system where it is 25. But yeah, most oil change is about 30 or 40 bucks. You know what I'm saying? And maybe they got something different, but they could be. But even so, you still got to be able to have the money for that. Outside of paying your rent, outside of buying keeping your hygiene products up, supply up, then you got to get your car checked. Think about coolant. There may be another. That's a whole nother service. Let's see. Do they have let's see. You need to get this done at least once a year on your car. But this is just for DIY stuff. But if you went to a mechanic, probably got a coolant, it'll probably run you between 80 to 100 bucks, if not more. But it's probably gonna be at least 80, probably a little bit more than that. So, you know, and most of the time this stuff always pops up when you paying bills and stuff and you don't have enough to pay all of it at one time. You kind of got to pick and choose what's best and what's more important and prioritize what got to be paid. But you know what I'm saying, when you're living on your own, you got to make those kind of decisions, and sometimes you got to give up some things that we consider luxuries or amenities and stuff like that to make sure you take care of the main stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that comes to being able to pay for it. Career versus job. A career, we'll get into it, versus job. And the thing is to make a strategy to navigate your career as early as possible. If you can start this in high school, this is one thing I'm really going to hit on. And I want to go around and talk to kids about this. Go around and talk to different high schools. Even junior high, you really need to think about a career path and stick to it and don't change. Because even in colleges still, they talk about this a lot. People come there and they're undeclared or they keep changing their major. If you find something and stick with it, and don't change just because it's hard, you'll find yourself at the end of that journey, you'll find yourself in a better position than you was at first. And that's what I'm saying, like, be more efficient. It can make your time more efficient the early that you pick a career path and stick with it. Like I said, if you want to be a doctor, that's an academic path. You really got to stay on top of your academics. You really got to be on top of your homework. Most people that become doctors, they sacrifice a lot when they're young on the front end, in order to have a better back end. And pretty much, they may not go out and party like everybody else. They may not hang out. They may be doing their homework. They may be studying biology and microbiology and all that stuff. But the career field and the salary range, if you stay with it and get there, is awesome. But you got to be smart. You got to make the sacrifices. You got to have the endurance. And if you do it, you'll get the job done. And also, when you pick a career path, like say you want to be a doctor, you probably want to work in clinics and work at hospitals and get that experience about working in a medical setting as much as you can. So when you get there, you have that experience and you kind of have a kind of a mindset of what needs to be done, instead of just jumping straight from college into the field without the experience. And even with doctors, you got to be a residency and stuff like that. But if you can get exposed to that as early as possible, you'll realize it's really not that bad as you think it is. I want to say that jobs cap off at a certain point. Careers a little different. Let's look at a job real quick. Let's say Nike, right? I just randomly picked some. Oh wow, I get to work at Nike, man. Guess what? $15 an hour. $15 an hour. That is not a lot. Let's look that up. I want to show you. Boom. So $15 an hour is about $31,200 annually. Let's look at bi-weekly. That's what most people look at. It's bi-weekly, right? Bi-weekly. Oh, that's a So, how much is $15 an hour for 40 hours a week? If you worked a 40-hour week, made $15 an hour, you would gross $600 per week. Your take-home pay after taxes would be about $530 a week. So, $15 an hour, $530 a week. That's like working at retail stores. Most retail stores probably pay that much. They're jobs, they're not careers. If you work at a retail store, you better be thinking about management or being like a branch manager, store manager, something like that, if you want to be in that career path. But you don't want to be working there for 5 years still making $15 an hour. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't want to do that, because $530 a week, and this is not with benefits, insurance. This is just if you work there and work for 40 hours, get taxes taken out, you bring home $530. When the average apartment could be $700 and up, really about $800 and up now with inflation. So if you're making $500 a week, every 2 weeks, that is $1,060. But let's say, apartments, the average apartment is $800. That means you only have, $1,060, $200. And it ain't a lot, about $200 some left over somewhere in there. You do the math on that. So that means every time you get paid, you would have to put up $400. So if you did $400, that's $130 left that you got to make last for 2 weeks. And it sounds crazy, but a lot of people are making it happen like that. It's not an easy a way to live. It's not a simple way. It's pretty tough to make $130 last for 2 weeks, even if you're single, because you got to think, just off of gas and driving, if your job is not by your house, I mean, you could burn through $40 in gas in 1 week, and that's only $100 left. Now you got to make last another week. Now you want to go get food. Think about this, we was looking at Walmart. You want to go get food. That could be another $40 or $50. Now you down to 50. And you got to make that last for another week or 4 days, And if you don't want to cook, how you going to make that last when going out to eat can wipe out the rest of that, no problem. So that's why it's important to understand between a job and a career. And then I got on my notes that a career, you can always hit the market when the demand for value increases. What I mean by that is when you have a career and you have your education, there's always a market for your skill, but you gotta have the education and the credentials to be able to move out in the market. A lot of times people get great jobs, but they don't get the education while they're in the great job. I've done it. I've been there. That's why I'm going to school now. And what happens is you get this job and you're like, you are ahead so far. But after about 2 years, you start to feel like it started to balance out. But if you don't have the education to really look around, you'll find out that position, even though you're qualified, but you go to look for other jobs, they want you to have the degree. You can disqualify yourself just by not having a degree. And that's why I tell the youth, don't disqualify yourself. Don't give them a chance to disqualify you. Give yourself every chance, every advantage possible. Don't worry about everybody else's advantage. Worry about your advantage, what you have, what your skill set is, and make it happen with that instead of worrying about what the next person has. So, when we get to education, I want to talk about picking the right career fields before enrolling into college. I can make a whole section about this. Matter of fact, if you want to hear about that, we can go through different degrees and look up the research and all that, but pick the right field. Some fields, they don't translate into a solid career. And if you want to be married, have a family, and provide stability for your family, especially as a minority male, you have to pick the right career. Some people say, well, that's too hard. Guess what? Most of the careers that are hard, they pay the most. Look it up. You want to be a lawyer? They get paid pretty good. You want to be a doctor? They get paid pretty good. You want to be a pharmacist? They get paid pretty good. If you work in IT, I found out that I thought IT was okay, but if you work in IT and you get your education, that pays pretty good. I had no problem. You get paid pretty good. Now, are you gonna be rich? Probably not, but it's better than making $15 an hour. It's way better than that. I can tell you that right now. And most of the jobs that pay $15 an hour, you up on your feet most of the time, or like I say, you don't really get a lot of raises. You could possibly be making the same thing in 2 or 3 years. Instead of a career, if they don't give you a raise, somebody else will. And you may get more because now you gain more skills at the job that you're currently at now. So make the strategy and declare your major and stick to it. Whether it's college, whether it's a trade, apprenticeship, cosmetology, whatever, find something other than a high school degree. Post-education is something that can bring you a solid career, because back in the 80s and 90s, probably a little bit into the 2000s, it wasn't all about the degree, but now it seems like more and more they require you to have a degree, especially when you get over a certain income level. Let's say when you start getting over 60,000, they probably want you to have a degree. And we're not talking about working overtime. We're talking about regular 9 to 5 hours working in the office, and you're probably sitting in the chair most of the day. If you have a degree, you can probably look into jobs like that and it's not as strenuous as working in retail, making $15 an hour. You know, we talking about jobs that's kind of a little bit more comfortable, maybe more mental work, meetings and scheduling meetings and stuff like that. But you have to understand that it's going to take some work. It's not all easy, but if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And once again, this is not for everybody, but I'm talking to the person that I kind of was like me. I was working in retail. Like, there's got to be a better way. This is not me. I'm not going to be stuck doing this for the next 10 years. And it motivated me. It propelled me to get to the point where I'm at now. And I said, you know what? I'm going to share this information with somebody that probably wants to hear this and be motivated by this, because there are opportunities out there. But if you're not prepared for them, you cannot capitalize on the opportunity that you're not prepared for. I promise you that. I learned that from the hard way, from my own experiences. And I'm trying to give you experiences that from my trials and errors, not from the successes, but from the trials and errors and that I learned from. And I want to give it back and give somebody else insight, give them the advantage that they can make those decisions. Sometimes different little adjustments you make can make a total difference on your trajectory and where you're going. So there is an education path for every type of personality. So don't get comfortable with being stagnant. What I mean by that is sometimes you can get comfortable being in that one place in life, but sometimes you got to take that next step. And sometimes it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you want to get to the next level, you got to take that next step. Sometimes you got to take that leap of faith, and you won't regret it when you do it. If you take it and then handle it when you taking that leap of faith and handle your business, you will come out on top every time. I'm telling you from experience, every time. So, skills will take you further. Skills will take you further. Learn about your skills. Learn about what you're good at. Learn about, what makes you you. Education will help you build around skills. What do I mean by that? You can have the skills to build a house, but if you went to school and educate on how to run a business, or you went to apprenticeship to learn how to do framing based on the code, now you're building around the skill. You're naturally good at framing, but if you go to school and learn how to frame or learn how to scale up a bit, now you framing and you can contract out your services without having to work for somebody now, because you know how to run a business. And that's when it comes to picking the right field. You have to pick the right field around your skills. Kind of like Legos. Learn your skills first, then stack the education on top of that skill Lego. And then communication will help increase your value. A lot of times that seems like the hustle now, right? People are selling you information that you can look up yourself. Master classes on how to be successful, and then you go in there and say, well, you just go to school and build around your skills. They selling you information. That's what we talk about in the hood. The game is to be sold, not to be told. So people are selling information. They're selling these classes, and they're making money just off selling information because you didn't want to look it up. So you pay them to do it, and then they say the information, right? So think about that. Communication, interviews. When you get your degree, you have the experience. Now you go to the interview. Can you sell yourself in an interview? Think about that. Most jobs, when you get over a certain income level, you're dealing with 2 or 3 people in one interview. It's you versus 3 people. You have to look at all of them in the face. You got to be able to explain, what field you're in. Like, say, with me being in IT, if I'm going for a job in networking, I have to be able to do some conversation about networking. Do I know what I'm talking about? Do I know a general overview of what networking is? I have to be able to explain it. Same thing with management. Are you good with people? What's your personality like? What's your production level? What's your experience? You got to be able to explain management. So communication is it's one of the major parts of your success in your career is your communication and being able to communicate effectively. Sometimes if you can sum stuff up in one sentence or a small paragraph instead of having to explain for hours, if you can sum up an hour in 5 minutes, that will change the game for you. I'm telling you that from experience. Next point, and this probably my last, I'm gonna close on this, is the market. Knowing the market of what you're in. Like, if it's different, some people say I'm passionate about this, but is there a market for what your passion is? And if there's a market for it, hey, go for it, go get it. But if there's not a market for it, that's what you gotta do the research on and be honest with yourself. If there's not a market for it, find something that has a market for it, because everybody has more than one skill. But sometimes your passion doesn't have a market demand for it, so you have to find some, especially if you got a family, you got to find something that you can hit the market with and get value for it and get a solid salary for it, so you can take care of your family, provide stability, because you want to be able to pay your bills, have enough left over to where you can put money up or invest it and do other things comfortably without trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. Or like we talked about, you make $500, you making $15 an hour based on Google, you bringing home $530 a month, and now you gotta put $400 of that up, and you only got $130 left that you gotta make last for 2 weeks. Sound like it's crazy, but that happens a lot. You'd be surprised, And the average apartment in Little Rock, I know some people that let's say it was St. John's or the older Westgate, that the rent there is $800 a month minimum, and you only bringing home $530 a month, and the rent is $800, and if it's due by the 1st or the 15th, you only get paid bi-weekly. That means you're gonna have to really be strategic about how do you put your money up to pay the rent. But then when you do that, how much do you have left over? Do you have enough left over to buy your necessities? When buying soap towels, soap towels and something like that was like $80 just for that. We ain't even got the cleaning products. We haven't even got to groceries. Just the hygiene stuff can cost you $80. So that's what I want to talk about. Just break that down a little bit. Give you something to think about. Freedom is not free. Freedom costs. But if you make the right decisions, you make a strategy and execute, you will come out ahead every time. But with doing it, it's going to come with sacrifice. It's going to come with some things you got to put to the side in order to have that laser focus. But if you do it and execute the plan, you'll come out ahead. And this is Mike. I'm signing out. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I'm signing out.